Hello and welcome to the season premiere of the ZTV Sports Report, your home for all things Akron Zips athletics. I'm Max Erisey, joined today by my colleague and good friend, Dustin James. Thanks for being here, Dustin.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Really looking forward to talking about some of our Zips athletes and Zips teams moving forward. So
glad to have you.
Thank you.
We've got a lot of basketball to get to today, but we're going to start the program with a short feature on new Zips head football coach, Joe Moorhead. Don't go anywhere, because the ZTV Sports Report starts now. Back on December 4th, Zips football found their new head coach in Joe Moorhead, who had previously served with the team in various roles between 2004 and 2008. Let's see what he's all about.
We're excited to move forward. With that being said, I'm going to introduce our next head football coach. So excited to work with you, partner with you, and a new member of the university leadership team, Coach Joe Moorhead.
Pedigree. It's not going to be through what we proclaim on social media. It's not going to be a slogan we put on the back of a T-shirt. It's going to be done through good old-fashioned hard work, rolling up our sleeves and creating a culture and a foundation that are based on discipline, accountability, work ethic, attention to detail, and selflessness. And it's that simple. And our goal is to make sure that we graduate all of our players in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, however long they may be here, with an impactful degree, all right, and make sure they leave as a better person, a better student, and a better player in that order. And it's exciting. And how do I know it can happen here? Because I've seen it firsthand. And in my 24 years of coaching, I've been a part of 5. Right, the play call was 62 Z poster smash. And Luke Getzey dropped back and pump faked Merce Poindexter, right, in the tight end position, and threw the ball to Dominic Hickson, and Jason Montgomery in the left slot did a great job pulling the slot out of there. And Jabari Arthur ran his hitch, and Dominic Hickson caught that ball, who incidentally enough called me 5 minutes before we walked in here, which was awesome to hear from Dominic. It went crazy. And in my years, it was one of the best moments that I've had. And the feeling of the fans and the energy and the trip to that Motor City Bowl, that's what we're looking to recapture.
It'll be interesting to see how Moorhead's tenure pans out. Dustin, what are your thoughts on the hire?
Yeah, Joe has a very extensive resume. He's come from a lot of good schools. He was just most recently in charge of Oregon's OC position, where he was in charge of a powerful offense there. And Akron's offense has been very lackluster the last couple seasons. In fact, last season they actually finished last place in points per game. So he's going to have to take a pretty serious look at what he can do to turn our offense around and get some points on the board for us.
Definitely. And, you know, taking it back to his first stint with Akron from 2004 to 2008, you know, he arrived as the wide receivers coach and he left as the offensive coordinator.
Right.
And that's a trend that I feel like has continued for most of his career, regardless of what program he's coaching at. So I feel like that really speaks to his football mind and, you know, the value that he can bring to your program.
Absolutely.
And with that, it's about time to get into Zips basketball. We've got 4 games to take a look at, along with brief recaps of several others. First up, we're going to take it over to Jon to see how the Zips fared in their first of 2 matchups against conference rivals Kent State. Let's see how they did.
On January 14th, the Akron Zips faced off against the Kent State Golden Flashes. Let's get straight into the action. Throughout the game, Sincere Carey was the high point man with 32 points. For the Akron Zips, their leading scorer was Xavier Castaneda, who scored 21 points on 5 of 11 shooting. The game was pretty evenly matched throughout the first quarter, but near the end of the second quarter, that's when the Kent State Flashes started to pull away. The biggest difference in the game came from the shooting percentages, with Akron Zips only shooting 35% and only 16% from 3, In comparison, the Kent State Flashes shot 46% from the field and 41% from three. Both teams do need to work on taking care of the ball, though, with Akron Zips having 10 turnovers and the Kent State Flashes having 12 turnovers. When it came to the rebounds, the Kent State Flashes ultimately won in that department, grabbing 40 rebounds in comparison to the Akron Zips' 29 rebounds. Diving deeper into the rebounding department, the Akron Zips had 9 offensive rebounds, while the Kent State Flashes had 11 offensive rebounds. However, the defensive rebounds is where more of a difference can be seen, with the Zips only pulling down 20 defensive rebounds to Kent State Flashes' 29 defensive rebounds. It's all about execution, and execution is how you keep your leads. Unfortunately for the Zips, their highest lead of the game was only 4 points, compared to the Kent State Flashes' largest lead of the game, which was 15 points. While Sincere Carey ultimately dominated the game from an individual aspect, the Kent State Flashes also had more assists than Akron Zips. The Kent State Flashes had 10 assists compared to Akron Zips' 6 assists. On the defensive side of the floor, perimeter defense was an emphasis for both teams, with both of them tallying 6 steals. Unfortunately, the Akron Zips fell to the Kent State Flashes 55-67. I've been your host, Jon Jackson. I'm signing off. Bye, everybody.
It's obviously a difficult outcome to accept anytime the Zips lose to Kent, and this game was no exception. And Dustin, speaking on this game, I feel like the conversation has got to start with Kent State's Sincere Carey. 32 points, 6 for 10 from 3-point. 6 3-pointers, and that's more than the Zips made as an entire team.
Right.
You're just not going to win games that way.
You're generally not. The Zips only did shoot 16% from the line, where they only shot 35% from the field, which is not going to win you too many games. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, they were still in this game most of the time, up until about halfway through the second half. They were pretty much within 4 to 6 points the entire game. And then they just let the lead slip away a little bit. They weren't as sharp, they weren't executing as well as they should have been, and unfortunately, we just didn't get the win. So.
Mm-hmm. And what can you say, but on to the next.
Right.
We're going to take a quick break now, but when we come back, we'll see how the women's team fared against Ball State.
You're watching ZTV.
Class is canceled.
No way. Do you want to go to the art museum?
What if we go to Highland Square?
Or we could get a snack at the peanut shop.
Or we could go to Lock 3 and get entertained while we eat.
But I really wanted to go to the peanut shop.
But I really wanted to go to Lock 3.
Well, there's a lot more options at the peanut shop that we can choose from
think
than
so.
Lock 3. Yeah, there's
We could do it all.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
I should have known my demise was at hand. My life was ended in a single snap from a madman. But, to everyone's surprise, I have returned.
You're watching ZTV.
Just a day after the men's team fell to Kent, the women squared off against the Ball State Cardinals. We'll take a look at Dan's breakdown and find out how it went.
The Akron Zips hosted the Ball State Cardinals in a action-packed women's basketball game back on Saturday, January 15th. The Zips entered the game with a 6-4 record, while the Cardinals entered holding a record of 9-5. Lane Farrell put the Zips on the board with this contested layup early on. Farrell was the second leading scorer for Akron, finishing the game with 18 points. Ball State answers with a steal from Allie Becky, who sets up this beautiful assist for Ball State. The Cardinals had 5 steals on the game with 12 total takeaways. Here, Jordan Dawson drains a 3 for her first points of the game. Dawson led both teams in scoring, putting up 20 points. A lot of back and forth action here in the first half of play. Ball State shot over 51% from the field, going 8 for 21 from behind the arc. Meanwhile, the Zips shot 49% from the field and were even more efficient from the three, sinking 12 of their 22 attempts. Jordan Dawson drains another triple here. She also led in rebounds with 9 on the evening. China Latimer, who drains this bucket from behind the arc, led the Cardinals in scoring with 17 points. The Zips close out the half with this and one from Kendall Miller. Both teams went into the locker room at halftime, tied at 40. We talked about Akron's efficiency from the field, but they were just as dangerous in the paint, especially in the second half. Jordan Dawson attacking the rim here, helping Akron pull away with the lead in the third quarter. We've seen excellent ball movement from the Zips all night, especially right here. Kendall Miller sets up Lane Farrell with this triple. Miller led the Zips in assists with 6. Farrell went 3 for 4 from behind the arc and a field goal percentage of 67, leading the Zips in that category. Ball State started to come back and trim the lead down with some excellent ball movement and clutch late shots. Here, Allie Becky, who led the Cardinals with 11 rebounds and 7 assists, nails this late jumper. Sydney Freeman also sinks a couple late jumpers to trim Akron's lead down. But unfortunately for the Cardinals, their fourth quarter comeback wasn't enough as the Zips would walk away with an 83-76 victory. The Zips improved to 7-4 on the season, placing them 4th in the MAC. Meanwhile, Ball State drops to 9-6, which puts them in 6th place. My name is Dan Groen, and thank you for watching.
It's always nice to see Akron pick up a win against a solid opponent like this Ball State Cardinals team. Dustin, take us through what you saw.
Yeah, this was a great game, very competitive from both teams. Akron shot very well from the three-point stripe. They shot around 54%, which is better than they usually do. To start the fourth quarter, Akron was leading by about 12 or 14, and they unfortunately let Ball State kind of sneak back into the game a little bit. They got sloppy with the ball, turning it over, not executing, not hitting all the shots they should have been hitting. And you just can't allow that against a conference opponent, especially Ball State, who's pretty consistent year after year.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely broke free about, halfway through that third quarter. But instead of keeping that lead and expanding it, they just let it shrink little by little. But luckily, they were able to hold on and get the victory.
Absolutely.
Taking it back to the men's team now, they hosted the Western Michigan Broncos in an attempt to bounce back from their loss to Kent State. Let's take a look at Drew's coverage of the game.
Hello, Zip sports fans. This is Drew Youngdahl, and we'll be looking at the men's basketball team's stunning victory over the Western Michigan Broncos. Let's get started. We kick things off with a three-pointer made by Akron's number 4, Brian Trimble Jr. But the Broncos answered back with a three-pointer of their own made by number 11, Lamar Norman Jr., making the score 5-7. Later, after a missed three-pointer by Josiah Freeman, Akron number 2, Greg Tribble, rebounded, carried it all the way to the paint, and made the driving layup, making it a 6-point difference in the score. But on the next play, the Broncos hit another three-pointer, made once again by Lamar Norman Jr. Almost halfway through the first half, a missed jumper by number 32, Max Smith, causes Greg Tribble to rebound again. He passes it to number 22, Michael Dawson, who shoots for the three-pointer, and it is good. With almost 2 minutes left, the Zips quickly moved the ball until number 24, Ali passed it to number 21, Aziz Bandago, for the dunk. At the end of the half, both teams are tied at 41-41, but then Lamar Norman Jr. of the Broncos shoots a three-pointer just before time expires, making the score at halftime 44-41. On to the second half. Here, an attempted three-pointer was missed by Brian Trimble Jr., but Aziz Bandago makes up for it with a rebound and then a dunk. Shortly after, Ali's pass is stolen by Western Michigan's number 3, B. Artis White, who takes it all the way to the paint and makes the layup. He's gotten 23 points this game. At 2:40, Titus Wright of WM passed it to number 0, Marquise Hastings, who makes the dunk, making the score 73-63. Defeat looks imminent for the Zips. However, during the last 2 minutes of the game, the Zips would stop the Broncos from scoring any more. The Zips would then start to catch up, as 2 three-pointers were made by Ali and Xavier Castaneda. This brings the score to 73-72. During the last 30 seconds, the Broncos tried heavily to stop the Zips. It was no use, as Ali pushes through, makes the jump, and it is good. With 4 seconds left, the Zips were ahead. The Broncos were unable to score the rest of the time, which makes the final score Broncos 73 and the Akron Zips 74. A stunning comeback for the men's team. Akron had 35 rebounds this game, as well as 17 assists. For the ZTV Sports Report, this is Joe Youngdahl. Go Zips.
That was without a doubt the most exciting finish from any game so far this season. It was a position the Zips probably shouldn't have been in to begin with, but they got the job done at the end of the day.
Right. The Zips were down 10 with about 2 minutes and 4 seconds roughly left in the game. They had a couple tremendous stops where they used some trap defense to try to force a turnover. They did get 2 turnovers, and then they went down and hit some very big threes, played some serious defense on the other end when they had to, and then came down and hit the shot when they needed to, and it was a very impressive game to watch.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, got the win at the end of the day, but let's keep in mind that Western Michigan team is last in the conference.
Right.
They were then, and I'm pretty sure they still are now.
Yeah.
So that's really a situation you just cannot find yourself in. But luckily, they were able to escape.
Yep.
After defeating the Broncos, the men went on to win 3 more games in a row against MAC conference opponents, first blowing out Bowling Green, then narrowly defeating Eastern Michigan and Central Michigan in 2 very close games. However, the winning streak would be broken following an 8-point loss to Toledo on the 28th. Brian Trimble Jr. delivered the most notable performance of the stretch, dropping 33 points on Bowling Green, the most by a Zip this season. The team currently sits with a record of 13-6 and 6-3 in the conference. We're now going to take one more close look at a game, this time seeing the women travel to Buffalo to face off against the Bulls. Here's Josh with the breakdown.
What's up, everybody? This is Josh, and I'm coming at y'all with some women's hoops. On January 19th, the 7-4 Akron Zips traveled to Buffalo to take on the Bulls. Coming into this game, the Zips were 7-4, while the Bulls had a 10-4 record and were undefeated in conference play. Let's get right into the action and see how this matchup played out. Off the tip, the Bulls would kick things off as far as scoring goes, but it didn't take too long for the Zips to answer back, creating a nice back and forth all throughout the first quarter as the teams just went bucket for bucket. And as the first quarter closed, it was looking like we had a dogfight on our hands as the Bulls only held a 2-point lead, with the score being 17-15. But as we got into the second quarter, we did not see the same level of competitiveness we saw in the first. The Zips lost a lot of steam offensively, shooting 3 for 12 and racking up 4 turnovers. And while that sounds really bad on Akron, you gotta give Buffalo's bigs credit. They dominated down low in the second quarter. They were grabbing boards, and they weren't giving up anything easy in the paint. And that performance going into the half is just what Buffalo needed, as it really opened up the game. At halftime, it was 41-30, Buffalo. Coming out of the half, the Zips looked like a whole new team after some adjustment. A big part of that is Regan Bass, who absolutely balled out. She dropped 18 points on 70% shooting. Even though Akron did have a big third quarter, it wasn't enough. They had a huge offensive explosion but couldn't get it done on both ends of the court. In the third quarter, Buffalo dropped 17 points, and that was enough for them to hold on to their lead. Trailing by 8 entering the fourth, a comeback was definitely possible for the Zips, but unfortunately the Bulls had other plans. Similar to what we saw in the second quarter, it was nothing but dominance in the fourth quarter. Buffalo was able to escape with a 76-59 dub. Daisha Fair's 20 points combined with the Adebola Adai and Lauren Christie's double-double was enough for the Bulls to advance to 11-4. And that's all I got for you guys. This is Josh Feaster signing off. I'll talk to you guys next time.
A disappointing outcome against a very solid Buffalo team.
Right. Buffalo played a good game. They did shoot 8.3% from the three-point stripe, which is not going to win you very many games. The fact that the Zips lost by nearly 20 is definitely unfortunate. They did only shoot 37% from the field, so that kind of explains where the Zips' lack of scoring came from. And they did turn the ball over 16 times, so that's not going to help you either. So
definitely, yeah. A pretty back and forth first quarter, but Buffalo got out to a lead in the second, and they just didn't look back from there.
No.
The Zips couldn't catch up. The women have played twice since the loss to Buffalo. On the 24th, they fell 79-67 in a road game against Northern Illinois, bouncing back 2 days later with a close 4-point victory over Eastern Michigan. The Zips currently hold a record of 8-6, going 5-3 in conference play. We're going to take one more commercial break, but when we come back, we'll be jumping right into a favorite segment of ours, the Hot Seat. Stay tuned because you won't want to miss it.
You're watching ZTV.
Hello and welcome back to Are You Smarter Than a Zip Grader? Let's get back to our contestants.
I'll take science for 300.
What shape is the Earth?
Flat?
That is not correct.
I'll take history for 500.
Name 3 of the highest-ranking American military officers in the War of 1812.
Colonel Sanders.
You both lose. If you want some accurate information, check out ZTV's 300 Seconds of Science and 5-minute flashback on 45-1 at these times and on YouTube.
Yeah! Sam, Elmo!
Oh, hey, Julia! You ready to play band with us? I'm gonna play my clarinet.
And Elmo's gonna play his drum. Drum loud.
Oh, well, you know what to do, Julia.
Julia knows.
Mm-hmm. With Julia's autism, loud sounds can be too much.
But she still loves to make music. Play band.
Early screening for autism can make a lifetime of difference. Find out more at screenforautism.org.
You're watching ZTV.
Welcome back. It's now time to jump right into the hot seat, unscripted conversation regarding various Zips athletics topics. Any suggestions for what you want to see discussed? Be sure to tweet us at ZTV Sports using the hashtag #TheHotSeat for anything that you'd like to see covered. Today's segment will be relatively straightforward as we move beyond individual games to discuss both the men's and women's basketball seasons as a whole. And starting out with this women's team, I really feel like they've put together a solid start to the season so far.
Absolutely. We've been able to witness some tremendous play so far from Jordan Dawson. She leads the Zips in points, rebounds, assists, and steals up to this point in the season. And steals is at 2.7 steals a game, which is practically unheard of.
It's a phenomenal number.
Phenomenal. As well, she's averaging 19 points a game, and she can do it in any aspect she pleases. She can shoot the ball well for 3. She can score mid-range. She can drive and look for contact.
Mm-hmm.
If she gets fouled, she can shoot at the stripe. It's been extremely fun to watch her, as well as some of the other supporting staff on the roster. Reagan Bass, a true freshman, has been playing unbelievably, averaging 12 points and 5 rebounds a game, as well as just a block a game, which is our only Zips athlete who's averaging above a block for the women's team. And then Lanesia Brewer and Lane Farrell have both been tremendous as well. They've been getting a lot of boards, as well as feeding them underneath the basket has been extremely beneficial. They've been scoring a lot for us. And it gives us sort of a height advantage there that a lot of MAC conference teams don't have. So.
Yeah, and it's nice to know for, as much of a star player as Jordan is, it's nice to know that she's not the only one who you can rely on, between all those other names that you just mentioned. And how impressive is that for Reagan Bass? Putting up these numbers and accomplishing all this as a freshman.
Right, true freshman.
Definitely solid signs for the program moving forward.
Absolutely,
yeah. And, taking a look at their upcoming schedule, they've got a easy, you say easy, but who knows?
Right, don't get ahead of yourself.
They've got an upcoming game against Central Michigan. That's the second to bottom team in the MAC.
Right.
So that should be you want to hope to pull out of that with a dub.
I agree.
But then moving past that, they go Western Michigan, Toledo, Western Michigan. Western Michigan is 3rd in the MAC, and Toledo is 1st.
It's going to be a tough stretch.
Pretty tough stretch of games. But hopefully they can put something nice together. But
agree,
really liking what we're seeing so far.
Right.
And how about Coach Melissa Jackson?
Right.
She's done a phenomenal job at really, strengthening this program and making sure that it stays in a victory position.
Right.
And same thing with John Gross, the men's coach. They both came in about roughly the same period of time, both replacing the most winningest coaches
Big
in
shoes to fill.
their respective program histories between Jody Kest and Keith Dambrot. So definitely some big shoes to fill. But they've been able to succeed, all the way around.
Up to the hype so far, right?
And I feel like that can lead us into the men's team. They've definitely been performing pretty well so far this season.
Yeah.
I think one of the most impressive aspects is that it's not just one player who you need to win the games.
Absolutely.
They've got 4 players all averaging double-digit points and all within the same numbers. Ali, Castaneda, Enrique Freeman, and Brian Trimble Jr. are all averaging over 11 points a game, but none more than 14.
Right.
So those are pretty solid numbers, and it's nice to know that there's a lot of guys you can rely on.
I agree. The Zips are currently sitting 3rd in the MAC standings. They do have a little bit of a tough stretch coming up as they will have to play Kent State in about 2 weeks, so that'll be a good rematch of that last game that we unfortunately did not come victorious through. But other than that, they have a decently easy stretch. They'll get to play Miami home and then away. And Miami sits about 8th in the conference, so that's a bottom half team. And we're just really looking forward to see what the Zips can do moving forward here. So
Definitely. And I want to talk a little more about a certain player named Ali.
Right.
I feel like, to me at least, he's the kind of guy, it's like, if you're in a spot where maybe the shooting has been a little cold and you just need a bucket,
right,
that's the dude who's going to go and get you a bucket.
Right.
I mean, he's almost like Kevin Durant-esque.
Yep.
And, you know, his build, the way he plays, the fact he can just shoot over anybody.
Right.
Like,
he can score anywhere.
Even if the defender's right in front of his face, it's like, especially along the perimeter, you know, it's like, it doesn't matter, I'm taller than you.
Right.
I can just shoot over you.
Agreed.
But then at the same time, he's just as good, you know, playing in the interior and in the paint.
Right.
I mean,
Great
very
post player.
Yeah. And especially that Western Michigan game,
Right, that
after
last
they had
basket.
when they had already pulled off most of the comeback, but still had a little ways to go.
Yep.
That last basket, they just put the ball in his hands, and
He
he
made
was like,
something happen.
"I'll win this game for you."
Right.
You know. And that'll do it for this segment of the Hot Seat and this episode of the ZTV Sports Report. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at ZTV Sports and subscribe to our YouTube channel at ZTV Sports Report. I'm Max Erisey.
And I'm Dustin James.
Thank you for watching, and go Zips.
This program was produced by ZTV at the University of Akron. Do you want to gain experience in video production, professional social media, or working with real clients? Visit the UA School of Communications online or follow us on social media to learn more. ZTV, make media, make a difference.